Success. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's city council meeting is called to order. I kindly ask our recording secretary and city administrator, Ms. Dawkins, to please take the roll call.
Bruno?
Here.
Burkhart?
Burkhart here.
Ruby?
Ruby here.
Haven?
Here.
Kilberg?
Here.
Kasserag?
Here.
Maladra?
Maladra here.
Marks?
Mark's here.
McGowan?
McGowan here.
Swanson?
Here. We begin our city council meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would like to ask our accounting supervisor, Heather Collins, to please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Heather. Item 3, ladies and gentlemen, new business. Does anyone joining us this evening, either here in the council chamber or perhaps remotely, have any new business, any information they'd like to share? It includes members of the council as well. Very well. We move on to item number 4, and that is public hearings, special items, and presentations. And the first is the introduction of the woman who led us in the Pledge of Allegiance, Ms. Heather Collins, Accounting Supervisor. Heather, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, I'm going to take a guess. You've been on board 3 weeks?
Yeah, this is the start of my 4th week.
This is the start of your 4th week?
Yes.
And of course, we have a cheat sheet about you. Previously employed by the DeKalb Park District.
Yeah?
So from DeKalb Park District to here.
Yeah.
Nice. And I'm going to skip a couple things here. Born, raised, and currently living in DeKalb.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're a Husky through and through,
Yes.
because you also earned your degrees from Northern Illinois,
Correct.
including a master's.
Correct.
And you are a registered CPA.
I am. Yes.
Alderman Marks, are you a CPA as well?
Yes, I am.
Look at that.
Wonderful.
But I'm old. Mine says licensed, not registered. It's the older ones still get the license.
Oh, is that right?
There is
Yeah.
a difference between
There's
registered and
no
licensed. difference,
difference really. It's just that they just changed some titles and some of the older people just didn't want it to drop.
Oh, no kidding. Wow. And just for the benefit of Alderman Kasserag, what's CPA stand for?
A certified public accountant.
I know, that's true. Alderman Kasserag's new to the council, so.
Gotcha.
Now, 10 years experience, the majority of which in government at the city of Naperville.
Yes.
And you were obviously in the finance department.
I was, yes.
Wow. Did you work under, or with, I should say, Officer Friendly?
He was the mayor while I was
Pradel?
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mayor Pradel was there while I was at the city, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he was wonderful.
Yeah, nice guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Amazing. And you commuted from DeKalb to Naperville.
At that time, I did live in the Naperville
did?
area.
Okay.
I did. I grew up in DeKalb, left for a while, and then now I'm back.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're hanging out across the street, as it were.
Yes, yes.
And how's that commute between City Hall and the Finance Department?
It's fantastic.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's kind of like playing Frogger?
Yeah, it's a quick walk.
It is a quick walk, isn't
Yeah, yeah.
it? And according to your colleague and friend, the Director of Finance, Rita, you are eminently qualified for the position, came to us with extraordinary experience, and, comma, nobody else would take the job. Is that a fair statement, or?
Well, that's very kind of her to say the nice things about me.
She didn't say that. That's not
I am
nice.
thrilled to be here.
I got to ask you, at what age, and we should ask Alderman Marks this too, did you think, wow, accounting is what I want to do?
Oh, I hate to admit it, but I knew in high school that I kind
Really?
of wanted to do accounting. Yeah, it wasn't super popular, but yeah, I kind of knew that numbers were my thing.
So it just comes natural to you?
Yeah, I just like it, definitely.
And there's always these FASBs and GASBs and whatever, Great Gatsby's changes to all the accounting rules.
Yeah,
Are they, this is a loaded question.
yeah.
Are they mostly hitting the mark, or does it seem a little bit complicated, particularly for those of us who aren't as intelligent as you and Alderman Marks?
They're always trying to make things better, and that's the intent. They're complicated at times, yeah. Even for the CPAs, they're complicated at times.
I can imagine.
So.
Do you prepare your own tax returns?
I do. It's not very, I don't enjoy taxes, but I do my own tax return, yeah.
It said here you received $1 million back last year, is that right?
Give or take, yeah.
Take?
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive, man. So,
Before she worked here.
that was before, that was prior to your engagement with us, correct? Yeah. Statute of limitations have expired on that. So what else should we know about you? What do you do to unwind after a full day of crunching numbers?
Oh, I enjoy being with friends and family. I don't know, I'm kind of a typical accountant. I like reading, I like gardening.
Is there a typical accountant?
Yeah.
Now, accountants, forgive me if our auditor is an actuary, but accountants have personalities actuaries don't, is that correct?
Oh, we all have personalities.
okay,
It's
good.
just all different, yeah.
And what do you find thus far most surprising about Geneva?
Ooh,
There is no wrong answer. It's always kind of
you
curious.
know, one of the things that I was most excited about when I was researching for the interview was the history that you have, the downtown. There's a lot of really historic parts of Geneva, so that was exciting to me.
And obviously, you spent some years shopping here and dining here.
I've been to some of the restaurants, and yeah, we've got a lot of great things in Geneva, so that's exciting,
That is cool.
yeah,
You join us mid-year of a fiscal year,
yes,
and an unusual year to say the least.
definitely.
What worries you most as an accountant with respect to municipal finances?
It's always a concern, but especially during COVID, is the revenue. I'm sure you've had many, many discussions about that.
Right.
It's a challenge for everyone right now,
It is.
yeah.
And what else should we know about you, Heather?
I don't know.
Because I did reach out to your teachers.
Hopefully they said nice things.
They've all passed away, so it's kind of, no, I'm just kidding. They all quit teaching a year after you left.
I know, man. No, I'm just excited to be here. I'm excited to be on Rita's team and help Rita and Stephanie move forward with a lot of the initiatives and the directives from the council. So, yeah, I'm really excited.
And it's really baptism by fire, because we start the budget process for all practical purposes this Friday
Yep,
in our strategic planning workshop.
yep.
So,
She and I have already started talking about what my role is going to be, and
fantastic.
yeah.
Well, that's great. Anyone remotely have any comments or questions for Ms. Collins? Anyone here at the chamber, or in the chamber? Alderman Bruno?
Just welcome aboard, good to have you, and
Thank you.
enjoy working with you.
Heather, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And welcome aboard
Thank you very much.
again. I think I met Heather on day one. Yeah, we were all crisscrossing through City Hall, and, yeah, so, and you came back. That's fantastic. And you're able to sneak away now and head home, I hope?
Yep.
Are you? Feel free to walk in front of the entire dais as you walk out. That'd be... Welcome aboard, Heather, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item 4B, as in boy, is to proclaim November 28th, 2020 as Small Business Saturday in the city of Geneva. Is there a motion to so proclaim? Alderman Swanson makes that motion.
Second.
Alderman Bruno makes that second. Any questions or comments regarding this festive day on the 28th? It's going to be a little unusual this year, isn't it? So hopefully we'll still be shopping and having fun and supporting our local businesses. With that, I'll take a roll call to so proclaim the 28th as Small Business Saturday in Geneva, and I ask Ms. Dawkins to please take the roll.
Burkhart,
Burkhart, aye.
Ruby,
Ruby, aye.
Caven,
Aye.
Hilberg,
Aye.
Kasserag,
Aye.
Maladra,
Maladra, aye.
Marks,
Marks, aye.
McGowan,
McGowan, aye.
Swanson,
Aye.
Bruno.
Aye.
Saturday, November 28th is indeed Small Business Saturday in Geneva, with 10 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, and 0 absent. Our third item under Section 4 is a presentation regarding the fiscal year 2020 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. We invite to the podium our Director of Finance, who has nodded her head, not me. So instead, we'll invite the auditor. Do you want to make an introduction at all, Rita? Okay.
Jason will cover it all.
Jason, welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be here with you.
For your benefit, or for our benefit, can you just share with us your name and who you represent?
Yeah, by all means. Jason Coyle, I'm a partner with Baker Tilly, which is the firm you engaged to perform your external audit. So I'm just going to briefly go over kind of a recap of your financial statements that we provided our audit opinion on for the fiscal year ended 4/30/2020, and then mention just briefly some of the comments we had regarding your internal controls. So it's good to be with you. I want to thank Rita and her team for helping us get through the audit. We are all doing our job remotely. I know you guys are still here doing your job here, so we were trying to do the audit remotely because our firm's all working at home, and so that's made, this thing moves. That's made things some challenging, but we appreciate Rita and her team's help in getting it done while we did things remotely. So regarding your financial statements, you continue to issue a comprehensive annual financial statement, or CAFR for short. I always like to point out that's kind of going above and beyond what you're actually required to do. There's some additional information in there for the reader of the financial statements that's just beneficial to them. Provides a higher level of transparency of your operations, so congratulations on continuing to do the CAFR. In your financial statements is 3 pages, which is our opinion. That's the only part of the 175 pages that comes from our firm. It's an unmodified, or what we call clean audit opinion. The only change in there from last year is a reference to the implementation of a new government accounting reporting standard this year, which was Statement 84, which I'll comment on in a little bit. I know not everyone comes to the council wanting to read 175 pages of your financial statements, but there is one section near the beginning called Management's Discussion Analysis, or MD&A for short, and I would encourage you to at least read through that section. Management, as the title indicates, does a good job of kind of summarizing what went on during the year. And there's some graphs and charts in there that just kind of highlight some of the bigger items during the year. And so I just always encourage governing bodies to at least take a read through that short section and get an idea of what went on. And it does a great job of comparing things to the prior year as well, so you can see where things were compared to the prior year. Getting into the meat of your financial statements, I always like to point out the statement of net position, which is on page 4 of the paper copy, or I think page 77 of your board packet. This is where we take all the funds of the city and combine them down into 2 columns. You have your governmental activities, which is most of your operating funds, and then you have your business type activities, which is primarily your water, sewer, and your electric operations. The thing I like to point out about this statement is the fact this incorporates all of your capital assets, so all your vehicles, your roads, your things like that, along with all of your debt. And here in Illinois, the biggest topics when it comes to debt or long-term liabilities tends to be pension funds. You have 3 pension funds, IMRF, your police fund, pension fund, and your firefighters pension fund. I always like to look at those and where those are standing. Your contributions to your pension funds, as you can imagine, continue to increase every year. Your net pension liability, as it relates to all these funds, did go down slightly from last year. You're down to $19.9 million as of the end of this fiscal year. So another liability that's on here that you don't often talk about is other post-employment benefits, similar to pensions, but slightly different in its structure, and that had a liability of $4.8 million as of the end of the year. So again, some of those liabilities that are always there, and you're always contributing to paying those down, but you don't usually talk about those on a regular basis, and usually only see those once a year in your annual financial report here. I'll talk just a couple more items in here, which is on page 11 of the paper copy, or I believe it's page 84 of your board packet. And this is your governmental fund. So in here is your general fund, your corporate fund, or primary operating fund there. That fund saw an increase in fund balance of $850,000 for the year. One of the things I always like to do is compare your fund balance to your expenditures. It's probably something you guys talk about from time to time. You're at 47%. So your fund balance to expenditure ratio for the year is at 47%. Overall, your governmental funds increased fund balance by $2 million for the year. If we look at your proprietary funds or your business type activities, which are you've got your electric fund primarily and your water and sewer fund that are intended to be self-supporting, that the charges for services pay for the operations, and there's no property taxes that are going in there. For example, the electric fund saw a slight decrease in net position by $879,000, but overall, these funds increased by $1.5 million for the year. I mentioned you implemented a new reporting standard, Government Accounting Reporting Standard 84, and that's on page 18 of the paper copy. And this relates to the fact that you hold funds for the TRICOM Central Dispatch. And so that hasn't changed, it's just the reporting standard has changed, and now it requires you to present the fact that you hold those funds on their behalf within your financial statement. So it's in a fund called a custodial fund, because you're the custodian of their funds, and so that's in here for the first time this year. So if you were to compare last year's financial statements to this year's financial statements, you would notice that change. So again, not the fact that you picked that up for the first time this year, just the fact it's being reported for the first time. That's all I was going to talk about within the financial statements. There is a lot more detail in your financial statements. Obviously, there's the notes of the financial statements, and there's a lot of budgetary actual or budget to actual comparison schedules later on in the report. Well, I'll pause there maybe if see if you have any questions on the financial statements. Otherwise, I'll talk briefly about the communication regarding your internal controls.
Any questions or comments from anyone remote for our friend of Baker and Tilly? Okay. Anyone here in the chamber? Continue on, Jason.
All right.
Thank
you. There's another communication that we provide at the conclusion of the audit. Let me just get to it here. It's called Reporting and Insights from 2020. It's a little different format than you've seen in prior years. Within the packet is a lot of information regarding how we approach the audit, sensitive accounting estimates, things like that. Usually the area that I like to point out is internal control related matters. When we come in to perform the audit of the city, we kind of evaluate the internal controls or your checks and balances as it relates to us performing the audit. So we want to be able to identify if there's any risk in your operations that we might need to adjust our audit procedures for. But the byproduct of that is if there's anything that we want to bring to your attention as a governing body, we're going to do that within this communication. So the good news is you don't have anything that are what's called material weaknesses, which is the riskiest, if you will, internal control concerns. You don't have any of those. You do have a couple what we call significant deficiencies. And before I get into those, maybe I should point out this report only includes the recommendations for improvement. It doesn't include all the great internal controls and checks and balances that you have in place. The standards don't really allow a mechanism for us to congratulate you on all those. We just point out the few things that we'd like to see some improvement on. So there's a couple recommendations for improvement here related to segregation of duties. And these have been fairly consistent for the past couple of years, and management has included a response to each one of these. So I won't go through them in depth since there hasn't been really a significant change in the prior year, but I know management's making some incremental improvements on these every year, somewhat limited by the abilities of the system and somewhat limited by, just the personnel that they have in place. And then obviously there's, as people come and go from the finance department, things have to be modified in that regard. So again, I won't go through these in any great depth. They are detailed out here along with management's response to, what they're doing about those. So.
Any questions or comments for our guest? I'll look at the screen here. Anyone remotely? Anyone in the chamber? No, sir. Look at that.
Okay. Well, it's good to be with you. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Always good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Director Cruz, thank you very much, too. Item 5, ladies and gentlemen, amendments to the agenda. Are there any amendments this evening by any member of the council? Item 6 is the omnibus agenda. All items marked with an asterisk are considered to be routine by this council, and all those items marked with an asterisk can be considered and voted upon with one motion. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Alderman Bruno makes the motion. Alderman Marks makes the second. Whenever you're ready, Ms. Dawkins, please take the roll call.
Ruby,
Ruby, aye.
Caven,
Aye.
Kilberg,
Gilbert, aye.
Kosrog,
Aye.
Maladra. Okay, thumbs up. McGowan,
McGowan, aye.
Swanson,
Aye.
Bruno,
Bruno, aye.
Burkhart.
Burkhart, aye.
The omnibus agenda passes with 10 affirmative
Stephanie?
votes.
It's Rich Marks. Did you get my vote?
I'm sorry. I thought Marks, sorry.
Sorry, Mayor Burns.
Oh,
just
no,
wanted-
that's quite all right. Thank you
Make
for
sure.
catching
No.
that. With Marks's aye vote, it makes it 10 affirmative, 0 absent, and 0 nay votes. So the omnibus agenda does indeed pass. Excuse me. Item 11, folks, municipal bills for payment. We kindly ask our city administrator to read the bills in their aggregate for our consideration.
Okay. Municipal bills for payment total $2,356,154.73.
Mayor, I move that we approve and pay the bills as read. The individual items that add up to that amount can be found in tonight's city council packet on the city website.
Alderman Bruno makes the motion to approve the bills as presented, which are also available in our respective city council packets and on the city's website. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Kasserag. Any questions or comments regarding? If not, Ms. Dawkins, please take the roll.
Caven,
Aye.
Kilberg,
Kilberg, aye.
Kasserag,
Aye.
Maladra, Marks,
Marks, aye.
McGowan,
McGowan, aye.
Swanson,
Aye.
Bruno,
Aye.
Burkhart,
Burkhart, aye.
Ruby.
Ruby, aye.
The municipal bills for payment have been approved with 10 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, and 0 absent. We jump down to item 13, presentations of ordinances, resolutions, petitions, and bids. Item 13A is to consider ordinance number 2020-34, amending Title 4, Chapter 2, Section 4-2-13, liquor license fees and number, adding one Class C3 liquor license for Hammers East Side Liquors at 1439 East State Street. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Alderman Marks makes the motion.
Second.
Second.
Alderman second, seconded by Alderman Caven. We do have our applicants with us tonight as well. I had the pleasure of meeting them earlier. Are there any questions or comments from any member of the council remotely? Anyone in the chamber? Madam Recording Secretary, please take the roll.
Kilberg,
Kilberg, aye.
Kasserag,
Aye.
Maladra. Just give me a thumbs up just since I can't hear you. Thank you.
There's 2 thumbs up.
Marks,
Marks, aye.
McGowan,
McGowan, aye.
Swanson,
Aye.
Bruno,
Aye.
Burkhart,
Burkhart, aye.
Ruby,
Ruby, aye.
Caven.
Aye.
The new C3 liquor license for Hammers East Side Liquor has been approved with 10 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, and 0 absent. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Feel free if you need to sneak out as well, okay? And you gotta drive to Yorkville, you gotta drive to Aurora, so be safe. Thank you very much. Thank you. Item 13B, as in boy, is to consider ordinance number 2020-35, granting a variation to increase the allowable fence height in the in the street yard from 42 inches to 48 inches, and a variation to increase the allowable lot coverage from 30% to 40% for the expansion of accessory uses at the property located at 502 South 4th Street. Is there a motion? Motion by Alderman Kasserag, seconded by Alderman Swanson. Ms. Dawkins.
Okay. So the subject property is located at the southwest corner of 4th Street and South Street intersection. The applicants are seeking 2 variations related to the addition of a proposed pool and pool house in their rear yard. The first is to permit a fence located in the street yard that would exceed the maximum allowable height from 42 inches to 48 inches. A 48-inch fence height is being requested because the City of Geneva has adopted the 2015 edition of the International Swimming Pool and Spa Code, which requires outdoor swimming pools to be surrounded by a barrier of no less than 48 inches. This proposed fence would enclose the pool area as required and portions of the rear and street yard of the subject property to also act as a security fence. Portions of the fence would be partially concealed by existing decorative fencing and shrubbery that extend along the street lot line toward the back of the property. The second requested variation would allow the subject property to exceed the maximum 30% lot coverage for their lot. Per the code, lots under 20,000 square feet may have up to 40% lot coverage, while lots of 20,000 square feet and larger may have up to 30% lot coverage. The proposed accessory uses identified in the project, the pool, the patio, and the pool house, would bring the lot coverage of the subject property to 39.28%. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval upon conditions specifying the increased fence height shall only be permitted in the location identified on the site plan, and that the lot coverage for the subject property could exceed the maximum lot coverage from 30 to 40% for accessory uses only. This evening, we do have Director DeGroot with us, as well as the applicant, I believe, is here, John Rittenhouse. So if you have any other questions, feel free to ask either of those gentlemen.
From our guests joining us remotely, any questions or comments for either Mr. DeGroot or the applicant, Mr. Rittenhouse? Seeing none? Anyone in the chamber? I trust the pool will be open this week, John? It's going to be mid-60s, man.
2 months.
Ah, shucks, okay. If no one objects, we'll take the roll. Ms. Dawkins, whenever you're ready.
Kosarog?
Aye.
Maladra?
Maladra, aye.
Deal. Marks?
Marks, aye.
McGowan?
McGowan, aye.
Swanson?
Aye.
Bruno?
Aye.
Burkhart?
Burkhart, aye.
Ruby?
Ruby, aye.
Caven?
Aye.
Kilberg?
Kilberg, aye.
The most spirited aye goes to Alderman Maladra, and the item passes unanimously with 10 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, and 0 absent. Thank you, Mr. Rittenhouse.
All right, thank you.
I trust you walked here?
I did.
Did you?
No. Thanks, have a good night.
Thank you. Item 13C, consider ordinance number 2020-36, granting an amendment to an existing special use, ordinance number 2013-22, to allow for the addition of a permanent outdoor seating area for Penrose Brewing at 509 Stevens Street. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Bruno. Seconded by Alderman Kosarog. Ms. Dawkins for a synopsis.
Okay, so the applicant Brad Novak of Penrose Brewery is seeking an amendment to an existing special use permit to permit a permanent outdoor seating area at their facility located at 509 Stevens Street. In 2013, a special use was approved by the Geneva City Council that allowed the operation of a brewery with a tasting room. The requested amendment would provide additional seating options for patrons visiting the tasting room and facility. Even though no significant increase in parking demand is expected, the brewery is adding 2 additional off-street parking spaces to their 29 existing parking spaces. Again, the Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the requested amendment to the existing special use. And we have Director DeGroot here, and I don't believe the applicant is here. So Director DeGroot can answer any additional questions.
Any questions or comments from those joining us remotely for Director DeGroot? Alderman Burkhart?
Hi, thanks. I do have some questions for David, if he's
Certainly.
available.
Here he is.
All right. David, what hours is Penrose open, and will this, are the proposed hours any change for this outdoor seating area?
They're not proposing to change the hours from what they currently are. I believe they're open until 10 on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, but they close at like 6 on Sunday. And then Tuesday through Thursday, they're open until 9 p.m.
Is this a response to COVID? Did the petitioner say if this was something, related to COVID, this outdoor seating area?
Initially, yes, it was a response to COVID, but they realized that it's a nice addition to the brewery and want to make sure that they can do that next summer when the weather turns again.
Are there any challenges with this location, or were there any neighbors that showed up to Plan Commission or Planning and Zoning to register any concerns?
We didn't have anybody provide any testimony or written comments at the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we haven't received any complaints from the operations this summer.
And can you remind us, I mean, what is the purpose of a tasting room? Or, how does a tasting room differ from a traditional bar or brew pub?
Well, first of all, the intent is to move product out the door to get the package sales out the door. So it's more to sample the product and then hopefully make a purchase to take home. A tasting room does not have any food. It doesn't also include food. There's not televisions to sit down and watch the Bears game, which I don't know why you'd want to watch this year anyway. So, I mean, those are the main differences.
That's my only concern with Penrose, is it does feel like it, started out as a tasting room, but over the years they've added special events on weekends, and now this kind of outdoor seating patio. I do know some neighbors in the area do have some concerns about, lights and noise at night. Not a lot. I mean, in general, it sounds like they've been a good neighbor, but that's my only concern about this kind of being an outdoor noise generator. Did you say they close at 9 on the weekdays and 6 on Sunday?
Right, and then I think it's Friday and Saturday, they're open till 10.
And again, this would be year round, as long as people are willing to sit outside or weather permitting.
Right, I mean, what they're proposing is essentially what they have out there today. The few picnic tables, the barrels with the gates, and then some Edison-style string lights.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That'll take care of me, Mayor. Thanks.
Anyone else? Any questions for Director DeGroot? Again in the chamber? Whenever you're ready, Ms. Dawkins, please take the roll call on item 13C.
Maladra?
Maladra, aye.
Marks?
Marks, aye.
McGowan?
McGowan, aye.
Swanson?
Aye.
Bruno?
Aye.
Burkhart?
Burkhart, aye.
Ruby?
Ruby, aye.
Caven?
Aye.
Kilberg?
Kilburg, aye.
Kosrog?
Aye.
Item 13C has been adopted with 10 affirmative votes, 0 nay votes, and 0 absent. We jump to item 13D, as in David. Consider resolution number 2020-85, authorizing use of personal services closure of parking spaces, electric infrastructure, and electricity at no cost to the Geneva Chamber of Commerce for decorative and fundraising opportunities at the unmanned Santa House. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Kilburg.
Kilberg made the motion and seconded by, forgive me, I didn't catch that, Alderman Marks. Thank you. Ms. Dawkins?
So the chamber has requested that the city place the Santa House in its usual location for decorative purposes during the month of December. The Santa House is owned by the chamber but stored and maintained by the city. Due to COVID, Santa visits will not be available at the house this year. The resolution for council's consideration would authorize the following at no cost to the chamber: the use of city staff to locate and move the house, closure of parking spaces, and providing electric service, pedestal, and electricity costs. It should be noted that the chamber has sold sponsorships of the house as a fundraiser. Additional details regarding those opportunities have not been provided to the city. And we have Director Timoshenko present if you have any other questions regarding this item.
Are there any other questions for Director Timoshenko remotely? Alderman Ruby?
Thank you. Kathleen, are you aware of what the chamber's intent is beyond what Stephanie shared? I'm just curious why they want to display the Santa House. Those of us with children who normally visit the Santa House will be very saddened by seeing the Santa House and not being able to go visit. So I'm not against it. I'm just curious to understand it.
I don't have more information other than what City Administrator Dawkins shared.
Okay, and there's no one from the chamber present?
No.
Correct, there's no one
Okay.
present yet.
Yeah, I can't tell, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
All right.
That's okay.
All right, that's fine. I was just hoping for some more information to better understand the purpose of it.
It's my understanding, Alderman Ruby, that there have been commitments made to sponsors, or will be commitments made to sponsors, and this is one of the more salient sponsorship opportunity, irrespective of whether Santa is quarantining or not able to travel to Geneva this year.
Okay,
It's my understanding.
all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman McGowan.
Thank you. I thought I read somewhere in the packet, okay, in terms of the sponsorship, is there going to be some type of signage on the Santa house itself?
That is our understanding.
So, I guess I oppose this, even if it brings in money to the chamber. And I know that this is a very trying time, but it is the Santa house, and we don't have any idea of which business is going to be sponsoring. I'm guessing maybe it's like a bank or something, but all the same, I need to know like what sign is going to be on there. I think we all should have that information before we approve this, so that we can make a fully informed decision. But even beyond that, I don't think it's right to stick a business sign on Santa's house. So I just don't think it's really, it's great financially, I guess, but it's not in the spirit of celebrating the holidays. And the Santa house is for the families with children and people who are a child at heart. So I guess it doesn't matter to me which business sign will be on the Santa house. I just think it's kind of, it's not my cup of tea. That's all I'm going to say. So I am opposed to this. Thank you.
Anyone else remotely care to comment or ask a question of Director Timoshenko? Anyone in the chamber?
Alderman Caven.
Oh, excuse me, Alderman Caven. Yes, sir. Sorry.
Thank you. No, I mean, I can appreciate, some of the other comments that were made, but if the chamber thinks that this is a good opportunity, they might not have anybody here today. I trust that they're going to be responsible with whatever business that they put on there, and I think that whatever business they choose or businesses that they choose, I'm sure will be tasteful. I have an 11-year-old son as well that's going to be bummed out that Santa's not in the house this year, but there still are a lot of families that are out walking and shopping in our downtown area to different shops, and I'm certain that that will be the same during this holiday shopping season as well. And even if it's only there in, well, physically there, but more in spirit for something else for somebody to look at. Obviously, it's disappointing that there's not going to be somebody in there, but this is at least something that's available for somebody else to look at as they walk down there. So I trust that the chamber will make an informed decision, and it will be done tastefully, however it is that they do it. So I personally don't see any issue with this. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else before we ask for a roll call vote? Seeing none, hearing none. Ms. Dawkins, whenever you're available, please take the roll.
Marks?
Marks, aye.
McGowan?
McGowan, nay.
Swanson?
Aye.
Bruno?
Aye.
Burkhart?
Burkhart, aye.
Ruby?
Ruby, aye.
Caven?
Aye.
Kilberg?
Kilburg, aye.
Kostrog?
Aye.
Maladra?
Maladra, aye.
With a vote of 9 in the affirmative, 1 opposed, and 0 absent, item 13D has been adopted. With that, folks, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this city council meeting. Alderman Kossarog makes the motion. Roll call in order to adjourn. Ms. Dawkins?
McGowan?
McGowan, aye.
Swanson?
Aye.
Bruno?
Aye.
Burkhart?
Burkhart, aye.
Ruby?
Ruby, aye.
Caven?
Aye.
Kilberg?
Kilberg, aye.
Kasserag,
Aye.
Maladra,
Maladra, aye.
Marks.
Mark's aye.
We'll take just a 1-minute break, and we'll switch over to our committee of the whole meeting. The microphones have been turned off.
Microphones are hot. You give me the thumbs up like usual? Okay. Okay, well, I guess, unless I hear differently from Pete, we'll gavel this into order. To start the committee of the whole meeting for Monday, November 2nd. I am Alderman Mike Bruno, representative of the First Ward, along with the esteemed Tara Burkhart, down in the lower left of the in-room screen here. Is it virtually, can we just say everyone's present?
No, we should take a roll call.
Okay, if you can take a roll call.
Bruno,
Here.
Burkhart,
Burkhart here.
Ruby,
Ruby here.
Caven,
Here.
Kilberg,
Kilberg here.
Kasserag,
Here.
Maladra,
Maladra here.
Marks,
Mark's here.
McGowan,
McGowan here.
Swanson.
Here.
Okay, that's item 1. Item 2, new business and public comment. I believe we have someone in the audience that would like to speak. If you could approach the lectern, introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for listening to me now. My name is Mel Rooney. I emailed, I believe, most of the members. Now, I looked on the website, and I'm not sure whose I missed, but I think I missed somebody, so I do apologize. But I am here. I've got a little thing. I did write a letter. My real business here tonight is for you to consider putting recycling bins in the downtown historical 3rd Street, 38 area. So I'll read what I wrote here. My name is Mel Rooney, and I recently sent that letter regarding recycling bins to the council on behalf of both myself and also the Geneva Natural Resources Committee. I've been a member for the Geneva Natural Resources Committee for the last year. I've become acquainted with environmental things that we do for the town. We're kind of the ipso facto green recommendation group. We are a subcommittee of SPAC, and we were created to promote awareness and conservation principles in Geneva. So this is right in alignment with what the Geneva Natural Resources is about. I'm also not only coming to you as an NRC member, but also as a resident, a mother of 4 kids in the community, and I am also a building owner on 3rd Street. I am clearly invested in seeing Geneva do well. We moved to Geneva for numerous reasons, and one being its values. I feel like this town values citizenship. You know, we have a very active community. And that's the main reason I'm here speaking tonight. I'm coming to you guys to ask for the municipal recycling bins in the downtown area, and I fully think that this is something that aligns with Geneva's values. Sustainability and climate change are current pressing issues, and one way scientists have started measuring how well we are doing is by pinning the Earth's Overshoot Day. And I'm not sure how many of you are aware of it, but it is essentially the date of a given year in which scientists say that we have used up the Earth's resources for that year. So humans are consuming resources faster than we can renew them. And in 1969, that was actually the year that we began running deficits with all of our resources. In 2019, they declared the Earth Overshoot Day as July 29th. That is only about halfway through our year, and that is a problem. Now, due to COVID, 2020, our Earth Overshoot Day did get pushed back to August 22nd. That's 3 weeks later. That's great news, but it's great news because it gives me hope, honestly. But that's still a problem because we have all those days left. Now, we've all heard the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle. And I feel like our community can do a little bit better in the fact that we can add recycling bins. We've seen 3rd Street with the overflow of trash bins. There's been numerous posts on Facebook. If you get on Facebook, I actually don't. I have not seen them personally. But people have complained on the weekends. We have visitors that come, and our trash bins are overflowing. Now, I've talked to a few people, Rich Babica. I've actually toured Lakeshore Recycling Services. That is our company and our facility that we use and contract with. And they are amazing. They potentially might have the best facility in all of the nation. So I am recommending we consider, and you guys consider, maybe looking further into this, getting some logistics taken care of, and potentially adding recycling bins to our historical area. I really think it would add value to our town. I think it shows we care, in all honesty. I think it shows that we have conscientious values, and I don't know, visitors, residents, I think everybody would support it. Why I was late earlier was I was actually doing something not green, and I was kicking myself for it. But I did print out an example of recycling bins. Now, I was in downtown Geneva, and we have a few different styles of bins. For the most part, though, they all have the rain cover on the trash bins. Those are a little bit more expensive, but we can talk logistics if this goes forward. But I recommend something that's, cute, in all honesty, aesthetically pleasing for the downtown area. And so I am here personally, and again, on behalf of the Geneva Natural Resources Committee as well. So, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mel. That's.
Do you have any questions at all?
It is maybe not directed at you. We've had this discussion before, and I think everyone wants to do it. If I recall, and I don't know if it would be Director Babica or Ms. Dawkins. I believe last time we broached this, did we find or come to realize that those recycling streams would get contaminated with garbage?
Yes, so that is one of the, of course, two concerns, contamination. Now, recycling facilities do, expect some contamination. Bill Kenny, he is actually a resident of Geneva. He is the municipal manager at Lakeshore Recycling. When we did the tour, he said there are 27 staff members on shift, and there's 2 different shifts. And we watched them, and I have a video and all this stuff. There's physically people going through and taking out anything that shouldn't be there. Then they have different sorting systems, of course. And then they have an artificial intelligence machine. Very cool, $1 million item. I don't know if they're the only one in the country that has that, but definitely only the one in the region. And so they've gotten that in the last few years. And we watched it pick up, and it learns every single time what it's picking up and, and improves upon that and what it can pick up. So it continuously does that. So there's also another way to combat contamination, and it's by putting like a small hole in the top. So when it could be just for aluminum cans and plastic bottles, and that's essentially what the recycling company wants the most of. That makes them the most money. They have buyers for those. So I personally recommend putting a small hole in top and then having signage on the bins and the cans. So people stop and think, and they know what to put in there. And having it next to a trash bin. So instead of, putting something in the trash bin or the recycling, they can go, they can figure it out. Is there anything else?
No? Alderman Kosarog?
I guess I didn't know that we had done this as a council before. How long ago was that, just out of curiosity? Like a year, 5 years?
Well, I would say it's been within the last couple of years because it's part of the current strategic plan to look at various options, and this was one of the action items.
So I would just like to say that I think, not having known that, but still, this really seems to line up well, not just with our strategic plan, but with what I think are the values of the city, and would be really supportive of this. I do think we need to address the contamination issue, but that sounds like a great idea to me. Maybe just even collecting cans and bottles, not even encouraging paper. And then I assume there would be like a education for the community. These are being rolled out.
Yep, we
Here's
could
what
go
to do
through
with
that.
them. Did you have any plans for that?
Well, we have the Facebook, and then also, Instagram, and that we could personally do. We don't ideally want to send mail pieces out, flyers, that's not very green. But if the city, if we could do something through the city, email, I do believe our whole town in general, even for residential, we could use all a little more education about what goes in the recycling bin in general, not just in the public space recycling. So yeah, if we could somehow get something sent out via email with the city, that would be ideal.
Well, I assume we could get it into the Geneva newsletter, the weekly newsletter and things like that, should it happen. So, I mean, I just want to say that, I think this is a great idea. I talked to Mel and Stephanie last week about it. I think they've got a great handle on the challenges of things, the costs, things like that, all details to come, I assume, should we do that. So I'm not sure exactly how we forward it on to get consideration. I know there's some budget issues and things like that, but I'm fully supportive and just wanted to express that I think this is great for the city of Geneva. I really think we should go forward with it.
Alderman Ruby?
Thank you. Brad, I agree completely. Mel, thank you for the presentation. We definitely have a lot to discuss here. I would just like to ask if there's consensus to discuss this further on the 16th, if we could possibly get this on the agenda that evening, that would be fantastic. Is this something that we're interested in? And I assume we'll talk about it at strategic planning on Friday as well, but if we, right now I'm just looking for consensus to discuss this further as an agenda item.
Definitely for me.
Okay.
No opposition to that?
Yeah.
We'll certainly, I imagine this Friday at our strategic planning, it will come up. There's no action taken tonight under new business, but any other comments? No, with that, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thanks for listening.
Item 3, recommend suspending the rules to permit Alderman Bruno to be the cow chair for this meeting and to vote on all action items on this agenda. Requires a 2/3 majority vote. Moved by Kozarog. Second by Swanson. Go ahead.
Swanson? Aye. Bruno?
Aye.
Burkhart? I heard her. You're mute. Okay, your mute's on, just so you know. Ruby?
Ruby, aye.
Caven?
Aye.
Kilberg?
Gilbert, aye.
Kosrog?
Aye.
Maladra?
Maladra, aye.
Marks?
Marks, aye.
McGowan?
McGowan, aye.
Passed unanimously. Item 4, approve committee of the whole minutes from October 19th, 2020. Is there such a motion? Moved by Swanson,
Second.
seconded by Caven. Any comments, corrections? Roll call, please.
Bruno?
Aye.
Burkhart?
Burkhart, aye.
Ruby?
Ruby, aye.
Caven?
Aye.
Kilberg?
Gilbert, aye.
Kosrog?
Aye.
Maladra?
Maladra, aye.
Marks?
Marks, aye.
McGowan?
McGowan, aye.
Swanson?
Aye.
Motion passes 10-0. Items of business. 5A, consider approval of the estimated tax levy for 2020 property taxes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Marks,
Second.
seconded by Maladra. Ms. Dawkins?
So the Illinois Property Tax Code Truth in Taxation Law requires that not less than 20 days prior to the adoption of the city's property tax levy, the corporate authorities of the city shall determine the amounts of money estimated to be necessary to be raised by taxation for that year upon taxable property in the city. The 2020 property tax levy is scheduled to come before the governing body for consideration and approval on December 7th, 2020. For your consideration is the estimated tax levy. The estimated tax levy for 2020 is based on the assessor's estimated EAV, the current year's CPI, which is 2.3%, and the estimated value of new growth, which is at 0.51% within the city. The final levy again will come before the council on December 7th. The packet did contain a lot of information, including a memo and supporting documentation relating to this item. In sum, the estimated levy shows a decrease of 0.83% for the corporate levy, which excludes debt service. For all properties, the tax rate would essentially decrease. Finance Director Cruz is present, and she can certainly walk you through any questions you might have. I would just note one thing, it is an estimate. So typically, we estimate a little bit high because the county will actually figure out the actual rate, which will then reduce it. But you can only, it's much like other things. If you don't ask for all of it, if you ask for just what you think it is and then they reduce it less, you can't go back and ask for that difference. So we do estimate a little bit high.
Thank you. Are there comments and questions from the virtual attendees? Nothing. Anyone at the dais? Any comments, questions? Simple night for you. Seeing none, hearing none. If we can have a roll call, please.
Okay, Burkhart,
Burkhart, aye.
Ruby,
Ruby, aye.
Caven,
Aye.
Kilberg,
Kilburg, aye.
Kasserag,
Aye.
Maladra,
Maladra, aye.
Marks,
Mark's aye.
McGowan,
McGowan, aye.
Swanson,
Aye.
Bruno.
Aye. Motion passes 10-0. Item 5B is in boy. Consider draft resolution authorizing approval of an identification sign easement agreement with Home Depot USA Incorporated. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Marks, seconded by Swanson.
Okay.
Any comments? Oh, you can.
I'm going to give a brief. So to complete installation of a new city identification, also known as the welcome sign, we have secured an easement from Home Depot along Randall Road at Fabian. This sign was one of 5 approved for purchase at the end of 2019. The easement is one in a series of easements being pursued for sign placement. Locations outside of the right-of-way were pursued for several sites programmed for a number of reasons, including IDOT restrictions on breakaway construction materials, conflicts with utilities, limited space to support design footprint, and line-of-sight concerns for vehicles, pedestrians, and private property signs. We have worked with Home Depot to ensure that this sign will avoid all potential locational conflicts. The new sign will be a secondary sign design scheduled for installation later this year. I would note that installation of these signs are in support of the Strategic Plan Economic Vitality Objective 3, and Director Timoshenko's here. She's the one who primarily has been negotiating and working with Home Depot to get this accomplished, so she can answer any additional questions you might have.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from Aldermen virtually? Seeing none. Any at the dais? Alderman Kasserag?
I just have a question. It's not a problem or anything, but what is a secondary sign design? What is that?
So we had several different signs, and Kathleen can explain, but if you look back a few years ago, we have the, what are they, arterial signs, secondary signs, and then there was one more. Yeah, tertiary. So it depends on the location, what type of sign they get, but they're all basically the same design, just smaller.
Okay. So is this, I'm thinking of the one as you're coming from Mill Creek back into the city. Is that a main? Is that a primary sign or whatever?
So is this like the one at Walgreens or?
No, that's a primary sign, or,
Yeah.
That's what I
or
figured.
arterial. So there were 5 arterial locations, 7 secondary locations. It was part of the sign plan that we worked on with the committee and also Lannert Group to try to identify. Some of them were replacements where we had signs, and some of them are new. So there's the arterial, the secondary, then the tertiary, which are even smaller.
Okay, great. That's all I was wondering. Thank you.
You said this is a secondary?
This is a secondary, yes.
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, hearing none?
No.
Oh, Alderman Burkhart, yes, sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Stephanie and Kathleen for their work in citing these signs. I know it's been been a longer process than you hoped, but they look great once they're out in the community.
Thank you.
Any others? Okay, seeing none, hearing none. Can we have a roll call, please?
Okay. Ruby?
Ruby, I.
Caven?
Aye.
Kilberg?
Kilburg, aye.
Kasserag?
Aye.
Maladra?
Maladra, aye.
Marks?
Mark's aye.
McGowan?
McGowan, aye.
Swanson?
Aye.
Bruno?
Aye.
Burkhart?
Burkhart, aye.
Motion passes unanimously, 10-0. Item 5C is in Charlie. Consider draft ordinance amending Title IV, Business and License Regulations, Chapter 8, Peddlers and Solicitors, related to Tag Day requests. Do we have a motion? Moved by Swanson. Seconded by Kozarog. Ms. Dawkins?
So tag days are defined as a day or group of consecutive days when organizations solicit funds upon public ways by distributing emblems or selling devices or other merchandise, including Girl Scout cookies, Boy Scout popcorn, American Legion Poppy Days, and Salvation Army Red Kettle Days. These events have traditionally been reviewed as part of the special event process, which is onerous to the applicant and expends city resources unnecessarily. To streamline, we've recommended an amendment to the ordinance that would separate out tag days to be regulated under the jurisdiction of the police department, similar to solicitors and peddlers. And again, I have Director Timoshenko here if you have any additional questions.
Questions or comments from Alderman Marks?
Kathy, just one question. Since it's going through a little bit more of a shortened process, will we still get insurance coverage for these? Do we normally ask for that when these go out, for us to be listed on their insurance policies?
Yes, we have not changed the requirement for the insurance to be submitted to the city for any liability that, or incident that may occur. So we're keeping the exact same insurance requirement that we would have used in our other process.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Alderman Kozarog?
I just had one, and again, nothing's really a problem, but I guess just informing us as the council about what's happening. I'm wondering if there's a way, if it goes through the police department, I'm assuming we don't know that these things have been approved,
So ordinarily, they wouldn't have come to the council anyhow.
but they wouldn't have.
No. But I think they usually put out their own press, and sometimes, if we
Okay.
know, so.
Okay.
But these, unless it's requiring more city services and more things like that, they don't automatically come to the council. They were administratively approved. It was just, this process was taking it through all the departments instead of just letting them go to one department and letting them handle it.
Okay, great. That sounds awesome. Thank you.
It's super redundant too. It's the same people the same people apply for it. They actually spread themselves out and know not to conflict with each other, so.
It's really self-regulated.
Yeah.
No other questions, comments? Seeing none, hearing none, roll call, please.
Caven?
Aye.
Kilberg?
Kilburg, aye.
Kasserag?
Aye.
Maladra?
Maladra, aye.
Marks?
Mark's aye.
McGowan?
McGowan, aye.
Swanson?
Aye.
Bruno?
Aye.
Burkhart?
Burkhart, aye.
Ruby?
Ruby, I.
Motion passes unanimously. Item 5D is in dog. Consider draft resolution declaring police department surplus property. We have a motion.
So moved.
Who was
I
it?
think that was
It was Kilberg and Caven. Thank you. Questions or comments on police surplus property?
And I would just say this is just what it says it is. It's housekeeping. We have items that either are out of service, obsolete, or otherwise unusable, and so we declare them surplus before we can dispose of them.
Seeing none, hearing none, roll call, please.
Kilberg?
Kilberg, aye.
Kasserag,
Aye.
Maladra,
Maladra, aye.
Marks,
Marks, aye.
McGowan,
McGowan, aye.
Swanson,
Aye.
Bruno,
Aye.
Burkhart,
Burkhart, aye.
Ruby,
Ruby, aye.
Caven.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously, 10-0. Item 5E is an Edward. Consider draft resolution authorizing execution of easements for 815 East Side Drive and Stone Fence Lane. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Marks,
Second.
seconded by Kazarag. Comment? Oh, please.
Sure. The owners have dedicated easements to allow the electric utility to install an underground feeder circuit from a switch at Geneva Drive and East Side Drive North to Division and East Side Drive to complete a loop. This installation will replace the line that's faulted 3 times this summer and caused several large outages. In the House, we have Director Babica. On the screen, we also have Hal Wright, if there are any additional questions.
In the House. Any questions or comments of Director Babica or virtually Mr. Wright? For me, Director Babica, so this is this has been identified as a significant point of failure recently?
This circuit is in the Geneva East subdivision, and it was originally included in this year's cable replacement program. But we had to secure a property easement across a house that's in unincorporated Geneva on East Side Drive. And we were unable to do that before the project was put out to bid. Manager Hilkman has been diligently working on securing those easements, which is what you see before us, and then this project will be included in next year's cable replacement program pending budgetary authority.
It sounds like this will improve reliability over in that area.
Well, it gets a major feeder circuit out of the rear yards, which is always problematic for staff as well as for the public, and that's why there's significant delays while they try to work through that area. That is coming up to the end of its serviceable life, so it will add redundancy by adding basically a protected feeder circuit down the East Side Drive right away. So we're very hopeful that the inconveniences that the residents in Geneva East have been dealing with this year, at least in this instance, will be eliminated next year.
Great.
Pending budget authority.
More questions or comments? Seeing none, hearing none. Roll call, if you will.
Kasserag,
Aye.
Maladra,
Maladra, aye.
Marks,
Marks, aye.
McGowan,
McGowan, aye.
Swanson,
Aye.
Bruno,
Aye.
Burkhart,
Burkhart, aye.
Ruby,
Ruby, aye.
Caven,
Aye.
Kilberg.
Kilberg, aye.
Motion passes unanimously, 10-0. Item 5F is in Frank. Consider draft resolution authorizing execution of a right of entry agreement with the Union Pacific Railroad. Do I have a motion? Moved by Kasserag. Seconded
Second.
by Burkhart. If you please.
Okay, so this one, the electric division has 2 utility poles that are adjacent to the railroad that need to be replaced. The only access to these poles is from the railroad property, and it requires the city to enter into a right of entry agreement. Again, we still have in the house Director Babica and Superintendent Wright on the telephone or on the screen.
I know we had some questions answered previously that are on the city website. Any additional questions or comments regarding this project, virtually or remotely? Here at the dais. Seeing none, hearing none. Roll call, if you will.
Maladra,
Maladra, aye.
Marks,
Marks, aye.
McGowan,
McGowan, aye.
Swanson,
Aye.
Bruno,
Aye.
Burkhart,
Burkhart, aye.
Ruby,
Ruby, aye.
Caven,
Aye.
Kilberg,
Kilberg, aye.
Kasserag.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously, 10-0. Item 5G is in George. Consider draft resolution authorizing bid award and execution of a contract with Municipal Well and Pump in the amount not to exceed $54,397 for well number 8 rehabilitation project. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Moved by McGowan, seconded by Marks. Comments, questions, remote?
brief-
Please, oh, yeah, please.
Sure. Well number 8 is located at 597 South Peck Road. It failed at the end of September. The well was last rehabilitated in 2013. 3 bids were received, with the low bid provided by Municipal Well and Pump from Waupun, Wisconsin. If the motor cannot be repaired, staff would come back to City Council at a later date for approval of a replacement motor. So I have Superintendent Van Gescam on the screen and Director Bavica in the house.
Questions or comments remotely? Alderman Marks?
I'm not sure who's best, but how old is that pump? I mean, we rehabilitated it in 13. Did we know the age of that?
Oh, there we go.
Sure. It's in the neighborhood of about 15 years old. So we'll be looking at that when we pull it out to get an evaluation on it.
Okay. What's the expected life of those normally, or don't? Is they just it's a yes.
I mean, as long as they're being able to be rebuilt. I mean, we have some that have been in the ground in excess of 20 years. So
Okay. Thank
it
you.
just kind of depends on the quality of the motor.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions remotely? Alderman Kilberg?
Yeah, right here.
Alderman Kilberg, you have the floor.
Yes. Hi, Bob. Say, Bob, just for the benefit of the audience, anybody that'd be watching tonight, at some point in time between G and H, if you explain the difference between the two rehab projects and why one is about twice the size. If you want to address that now, you can, or when we get to H, if you'd address that, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay. I mean, I can go ahead and address it now if you'd like. On the next item, you'll rehabilitation for well 8 is also going to, or well 9 is also going to be on there, and the motor is a much larger size, and it also has a mercury seal on it, so which is going to involve containment. So it's just it's a different type of motor, larger size. And so that's what's behind the increased cost.
Bob, you might explain why the additional motor size? Are we moving more water? What is the differences between 8 and 9 then?
It all has to do with the amount of flow that's required to get to the water treatment plant, and the way it was designed, and so that's the ultimate reason why it's a larger motor.
Anybody else? Comments, questions? Remotely at the dais? Seeing none, hearing none. If we can have a roll call, please.
Marks?
Mark's aye.
McGowan?
McGowan, aye.
Swanson?
Aye.
Bruno?
Aye.
Burkhart?
Burkhart, aye.
Ruby?
Ruby, aye.
Caven?
Aye.
Kilberg?
Gilbert, aye.
Passrog?
Aye.
Maladra?
Ladra, aye.
Motion passes unanimously, 10-0. Item 5H is in Henry. Consider draft resolution authorizing bid award and execution of a contract with Cahoy Pump Service in the amount not to exceed $100,275.42 for well number 9 rehabilitation project. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Marks,
Second.
seconded by McGowan. Give a summary.
So, we covered most of my summary. Basically, this is another rehabilitation project. I would just let you know that well number 9 was budgeted for this year, and it was last rehabilitated in 2014. So unlike well 8, which is because of a failure, well 9, we're already scheduled to rehabilitate that. And again, if it needs to be replaced, we will return with a different request.
Comments, questions from the council? Seeing none, hearing none. Roll call, please.
McGowan?
McGowan, aye.
Swanson?
Aye.
Bruno?
Aye.
Burkhart?
Burkhart, aye.
Ruby?
Ruby, I.
Caven?
Aye.
Kilberg?
Kilburg, aye.
Kosrog?
Aye.
Maladra?
Maladra, aye.
Marks?
Mark's aye.
Motion passes unanimously 10-0. Last item of business, 5I is an indigo. Consider draft ordinance amending Title 8, Public Ways and Property, Chapter 7, Parking Facilities near Railroad Station, Section 5, Permit Parking Zones related to permit issuance cycles. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Marks, seconded by Swanson. Comments? Oh, yeah, please.
Sure.
Summary.
So this is really more of a housekeeping issue. We have quarterly permits for parking at the commuter parking lots, and currently that period is not based on a fiscal or a calendar year. So this amendment would amend the permits to a quarterly basis based on a calendar year, so January through March, and so on and so forth. We just had our fourth quarter permits were June through August, and then we extended those through December 31st, 2020, due to COVID. So we thought the time is ripe at this point to change that quarterly cycle to a calendar year, which makes some kind of sense as opposed to none of us know why the other quarter system was in place. So that way we can start off the year with issuing new permits on a calendar quarter year. So again, in my mind, mostly just housekeeping. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to address those.
Any comments, questions from the council, remotely or at the dais? Alderman Burkhart.
I was just gonna say, as someone who was always running in at the end of February to pay my permit, this makes a lot of sense to go on a more natural quarterly schedule, so seems good.
Any others? Seeing none, hearing none. Roll call, if you will.
Swanson?
Aye.
Bruno?
Aye.
Burkhart?
Burkhart, aye.
Ruby?
Ruby, I.
Caven?
Aye.
Kilberg?
Kilburg, aye.
Kosrog?
Aye.
Maladra?
Maladra, aye.
Marks?
Mark's aye.
McGowan?
McGowan, aye.
Motion passes unanimously 10-0. We are at the moment of adjournment. Do anyone wish to make a motion to adjourn?
You got a lot of hands.
Really? Oh, there were hands up there?
Yeah,
So motion by Swanson.
okay.
Roll call, please.
Bruno?
Aye.
Burkhart?
Burkhart, aye.
Ruby?
Ruby, I.
Caven?
Aye.
Kilberg?
Kilburg, aye.
Kosrog?
Aye.
Maladra?
Maladra, aye.
Marks?
Mark's aye.
McGowan?
McGowan, aye.
Swanson?
Aye.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We stand adjourned.
All right, good night.